now to befriend India and to enter into some kind of partnership.
But briefly, I think it is more eloquence and less concrete.
I think so.
Right, time for Mr. Chadha. Before we went to the break, Professor Akshay Kumar felt that you know, basically most of the country seems to have been mesmerized and very little has come out in concrete terms. Would you agree with that?
No, not at all. I mean, if you would have judged from my opening remarks that if I call it an unqualified success, I cannot possibly agree with that. And we can, I can list several areas in which progress has been made. But to make a comment on his remarks, now he says that he sounded patronizing. Now, for heaven's sake, what do you want from him? If he makes concessions, he is patronizing. If he doesn't, we haven't got anything. I mean, if we have to complain, we will find reasons to complain no matter what happens. He has proclaimed from housetops, from the central hall of the parliament, what he is looking for is a partnership with India, not only in economic.
But Mr. Chadha, do you think it's an unequal partnership, because our concerns haven't been addressed? We were talking about the outsourcing issue, we were talking about easing the visa, you know, issues. I don't think much has happened on that at all, actually.
Okay, right. Now,
to the contrary.
No, I take that. On outsourcing, what did you expect? This was not an occasion where we would have settled whether there is going to be outsourcing or not. This was an occasion where we were going to judge the merits and demerits of outsourcing. And you have noticed that the hype that Obama had given to this issue before he came here was no longer there. He was underplaying it. He said that I am not a bogeyman. He recognizes that these are mindsets of the past and we have to overcome them. He has even hinted at the mutuality of benefit arising from outsourcing, and our Prime Minister made it absolutely clear when he said that we are not in the business of stealing people's jobs. So I think that the ghost of outsourcing has been laid to rest already.
Well, that's you know, to say that I think is easy, that we are not stealing other people's jobs, but the fact is that, you know, if the outsourcing doesn't take place, people will lose jobs here.
But Mr. Obama has not stopped outsourcing. All he has said, he is voicing his concern. He is not the one who decides whether there should be outsourcing or not. It is individual corporations who decide. All you can do is to regulate that through your tax concessions. He has not succeeded in that. The legislation he tried to introduce to take away tax benefits from companies who outsource did not pass. And now he has virtually recognized that this works in mutual benefits, as our Prime Minister pointed out.
Let me bring in Mr. Bagrodia on this. Mr. Bagrodia, don't you think the Prime Minister was too soft on some of these issues, including the outsourcing issue? He did say that we don't steal US jobs, but that's about all, no?
I won't call it soft, but I would have been happy if he had forcefully told the US President that this will benefit not only India but more to the US, and this loss of jobs is nothing compared to the loss of jobs to the manufacturing and services from China. But in any case, let me quote one of the CEOs which came in the delegation from US, who said that he has not heard much about outsourcing back in US. It was only in the last 2 days that he is hearing about it. In any case, this issue of protectionism clause has been completely diluted.
Right. Mr. Bagrodia, in your opinion, what are the other benefits which have accrued to India because of the visit?
The main benefit is the trust between the two countries, and I am sure the trade and industry and commerce will get a great boost. There are the other issues, initiatives taken in the areas of clean energy, health, agriculture, setting up of a joint clean energy research and development center. There is also discussion of establishment of global disease detection center. So all
right,
these things.
Mr. Bagrodia, thank you. I'll try and come back to you a little later. Akshay Kumar, would you like to react to what has just been said?
See, my argument is that Obama only catered to the expectations of the middle class in India. And even on outsourcing, nobody expected Obama to be as vocal as he is on the domestic turf. He knew it pretty well, that he is addressing to the Indian corporate lobby here, and he can't raise this issue here in as many words.
But did our leadership address the domestic
yes, I think Manmohan Singh was very categorical when he said that we are not in the business of stealing jobs from US, and that was a very firm answer. But at the same time, the entire issue is not to be reduced into this outsourcing and the kind of terms that India gives to US. My argument is the entire tone and tenor of the visit. Nowhere does Obama also sells the slogan of India's prosperity, oblivious of the fact that this prosperity is only to certain sections of society. He is only catering, and in fact he refers to the middle class, that he is happy that India has a burgeoning middle class. So I think the governments, it's not just democracy that the governments meet together. I think it is the business interest and also the expectation of the middle class that these two governments seem to converge.
Right. Master Sidhu, I want to
have a point to make on this. Well, he offered technology in agriculture, healthcare, education. I'm afraid those are critical things to uplift the country, economically, poverty alleviation. The costs that healthcare we are meeting and the kind of technology they'll provide us is phenomenal. Well, so be it. I think we'll talk about it.
Master Sidhu, on the military front, do you think some other deals are also in the offing?
Of course, Karmala, I'm sure they are. Some of them, as you just mentioned, we are going to buy
the fighter jets, the attack helicopters.
I want to, now that you make this issue, there are two kind of routes we are buying equipment. One is government to government foreign military sales,
yes,
which don't involve global tenders. The fighters, 126 fighters that we are going off, MMRCA, that is a global tender, and that is taking a long time, and many other countries have similar aircraft on offer, and therefore the trade with USA actually, which can be in the region of government to government sales, will be far easier, because that is the kind of capability we need to build up if India is to project power. And I think on those strategic issues, we probably talk of aircraft like 404 engine, we are getting 100 of them, which could have been entities list. We're going to get heavy lift helicopters. And more important, we are looking at making our own anti-ballistic missiles. We are from technology from Russia, the Arrow and the Green Pine radar,
yes,
over the horizon radar. Those are essential technologies which US could embargo to Israel and we couldn't buy them. Actually under the table they're clearing it. So there are many ways they are seeking to build up India, and certainly national interests are important. It's not for chickens that are trading it, giving it to us.
Absolutely.
It's their interest and our interest.
Do you think we have a defense relationship building up with the United States?
I think so. Reason not only defense. I would say it is across the table. Because IT has reached a particular point where we can't go very far. The future is of nanotechnology, the future is of biotechnology, and America is the leader in both these technologies, and with this particular dual technology removal, I think the future is quite bright. And one thing I must say, India didn't give anyway. For example, nuclear liability bill. There is a very strong opposition in USA.
But I don't think much could have been done. That bill is already passed now.
That is what India has not given. Absolutely, we say that it is patronizing, but India didn't give anything.
Well, that is, I think, our government's compulsion at this point in time. They possibly can't relent on that.
From that point of view,
Mr. Chadha, now US has expressed support for India becoming a permanent member of the UN Security Council. At this stage, in the reformed UN Security Council, as he put it. So at this stage, don't you think it's just dangling the carrot?
I won't quite put it that way. I think that's very uncharitable remark. But I would agree that at this particular juncture that has no meaning. And I don't know why this whole thing was hyped before the visit, partly because of the hesitations that seem to have been expressed before he came. So, and I think, again I repeat, I think that was deliberate, so that when he eventually said that, people said, oh my God, he has agreed. Now, what has he agreed to? He has given you a post-dated check.
Yes, right.
Now, that check, post-dated checks, as we all know, can bounce. But this post-dated check is not by just anybody. It's from a superpower, the only superpower today. So there is no, I don't see any chance of it bouncing. Also, there was some inclination to downplay its importance, because in the same breath he seemed to be criticizing India for the attitudes, the positions it has taken on Iran and on Myanmar. But I don't see it that way. Now, it is all right for him to state America's position. That does not have to be and will not be India's position.
But Mr. Chadha, now don't you get a feeling that he is wanting India to intervene in Myanmar? For example, now just I'll just read what he actually stated. He said, speaking up for those who cannot do so for themselves is not interfering in the affairs of other countries. It is not violating the right of sovereign nations. So what does he want us to do?
He clearly wants you to intervene. He does. He has always said so. But we don't have to do it. We have our own national interest. Does he speak up for a violation of human rights everywhere they are occurring? Are there no violation of human rights in Saudi Arabia? They're one of their closest partners.
Yes, Mr. Sharma.
I think this is a trap in which we shouldn't get into. Reason is that we echoed what America or Western people have been saying for Myanmar. I was there at that particular time, and with the result,
and
what
also
happened was,
if the US could deal with a dictator in Pakistan, there's no harm for us to talk to the military junta in Myanmar.
What has happened was that China took over the strategic space, which is very dear to us. Similarly, Iran could also be a strategic partner to us. Tomorrow, let us suppose what happens in Afghanistan. Let us suppose America goes out and the Taliban's come in. I think the strategic partnership with Iran or with Russia will be as good to us.
Right, Professor Akshay, you would like to add to that?
My argument is that if he can snub us, literally snub us, that if you want to, if you are aspiring for a position in Security Council, you should stand out and you should raise your voice. But with regard to Burma, with regard to Iran, what else is patronizing? You are admonishing us right in the parliament.
So he's kind of offering a quid pro quo.
Obviously,
no, I don't see it that
my argument is that this is uncalled for kind of remark. The speech was there is a diplomacy in speech. There has to be element of diplomacy in the speech. You are saying is literally from a podium which is so important to us, and the entire leadership is being snubbed.
I wish we could carry on with the discussion. Unfortunately, we are running out of
I do not
time.
see it as a quid pro quo, and I do not see anything wrong with the President of the United States to stating the position of the United States. Now it is up to us to state our position.
Absolutely.
It so happens that our position was not stated in a speech of that length anywhere. It was only articulated in a few sentences at the press conference.
Yes,
America is a liability also, because when America endorses the Security Council seat, it means 60 to 70 countries are going to oppose us.
China,
you see, that is also we have to take into account. So it is not that
so the US support comes with a price.
With the price.
Right. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining me in this discussion. With the US President spending 3 days in India, surely India gets the seat on the global high table. There are also lots of intangibles that have been floated during the visit, but it would be some time before the tangible benefits can be counted. With that, we end this edition of Day and Night Prime Debate. We meet again tomorrow with another issue. Till then, good luck and goodbye.